Midnight, October 2018. Plainclothes detectives step out of an elevator onto the 7th floor of an Oracle call center in Bengaluru. They inform the staff they are looking for a senior manager named Praveen. They locate his office and invite him into a meeting room. Assuming they are friends of a colleague, the manager follows. As he enters, one of the men steps forward to extend a hand in greeting. As their palms meet, the detective's thumb begins to discreetly trace the joints of the manager's hand. He is searching for a very specific old sports injury, a permanently shattered ring finger. The detective feels the mangled bone. He drops the manager's hand, looks him in the eye, and says 2 words. "Hello, Taran." The blood drains from the manager's face. He hasn't heard that name spoken aloud in 15 years. A man who successfully erased his entire existence was brought down by a microscopic bone fragment he couldn't hide. We have to rewind to Ahmedabad in 2003. Tarun Ginaraj was a local volleyball coach, barely 3 months into an arranged marriage with a bank executive named Sajni. On Valentine's Day, Tarun frantically dials Sajni's parents. He tells them to rush to the local hospital, claiming violent burglars had broken into their apartment and brutally attacked his wife. When police arrive, they find the apartment ransacked, but the physical evidence contradicts a break-in. Sajni was strangled with her own scarf. Investigators quickly uncover Tarun's real motive. He wanted his wife out of the picture so he could marry his secret girlfriend. Expecting a reunion, Tarun calls his girlfriend and proposes they finally marry. Horrified by the murder, she flatly refuses him. Realizing his alibi is collapsing, Tarun leaves his hospital bed and bolts into the night. What started as a calculated domestic murder instantly devolved into panic. Tarun had no plan, no money, and the authorities were already mobilizing to hunt him. Tarun knew his face was plastered across every police station in Gujarat. To survive, the person known as Tarun Ginaraj had to completely disappear from the historical record. He travels to Bhopal and tracks down an old college acquaintance named Praveen Patel. After briefly working with him, Tarun quietly steals copies of Praveen's driving license, passport, and state identification. He swaps out Praveen's photo for his own, applying to federal agencies for fresh documents. The government processes the paperwork, officially minting Tarun as Praveen Patel. Armed with a clean identity, he moves to Pune. He purposefully seeks out and marries a woman named Nisha, an orphan with no parents or extended family to ask uncomfortable questions about his past. By 2009, they relocate to Bengaluru. He secures a comfortable, high-paying corporate job. He has 2 children. He becomes just another face in a sea of thousands of anonymous office workers. He spent a decade and a half attending PTA meetings and corporate retreats, all while sustaining a flawless, unrelenting psychological wall to keep his wife, his kids, and his employer from discovering they lived with a phantom. Back in Gujarat, the Ahmedabad crime branch refused to let the case die. They quietly monitored every person connected to Tarun's old life. They zeroed in on his elderly mother. Detectives discovered she was using a hidden proxy SIM card registered under a distant relative's name, specifically to receive heavily routed, untraceable calls from her son. Tarun's analog evasion was airtight, but in late 2018, his mother was grieving the loss of her husband. Tarun's usual secure mobile connection was failing, and he felt a desperate need to hear her voice. In a rare moment of vulnerability, he picked up the physical landline sitting on his office desk and dialed her number. That single brief conversation generated a permanent IP log. All 15 years of meticulous discipline evaporated the moment human emotion forced him onto a tracked digital network. The detectives immediately flagged the incoming call. They traced the landline's digital footprint directly back to the Oracle call center in Bengaluru. Police contacted the company's HR department, demanding a complete roster of every employee in the building. Naturally, the name Tarun Ginaraj was nowhere to be found. Investigators lined up the Oracle employee directory against the mother's call logs. Scanning for overlaps, a single match lit up both columns. Praveen Patel worked at the call center, and that exact name was calling the hidden SIM. The detectives pulled up Praveen's social media profiles. Staring back at them from recent family photos was the aged but undeniable face of the fugitive they had hunted since 2003. Tarun had built an impregnable fortress of analog lies. But the second those two separate databases intersected, his entire fictional universe was mathematically destroyed. Back in that dimly lit office in Bengaluru, with the detective's thumb pressing his fractured finger, the exhaustion finally caught up with him. He confessed on the spot. The arrest shattered innocent lives. His second wife and their 2 children woke up to discover that the man they loved, the name on their marriage certificate and birth records, legally did not exist. He murdered his first wife to fulfill his own desires, then built an entirely fraudulent family as a human shield. He ruined 2 completely separate households just to save himself, only to end up exactly where he started. A person can steal a federal identity and vanish into a crowd of millions, but they can never outrun the digital signature of calling their mother, and they can never lie away a shattered bone.